All right, it says we are live. Welcome all. It's great to be back. It is amazing. It is amazing indeed. Anywho, I just want to say, first off, before we talk about anything here today or tonight or whatever, it's daylight somewhere. Thank you all so much for sticking with me and trusting me to get the money shot. Thank you all so fucking much. Ever since SpaceX started landing their first stage boosters, I knew that one of these days I would need to get a shot of the rocket launching, separating, doing its flip, boost back, entry burn, landing burn, to actual landing. I knew that I would need to get that shot one day. And I did try with the P900 a few times, and I had really good opportunities to get the shot. One that comes to mind was Cool Hard Logic's launch, which was, I believe, CRS-16, the resupply mission to the International Space Station. I remember that just before entry burn, I lost track of it and I fucked up and I was really depressed, even though everyone else said the footage was amazing and they loved it. But I did lose it for about maybe 12 seconds. So that was 12 seconds of footage I did not have. And that really bummed me out. Then when Falcon Heavy lifted off the first time, I was stuck at work and I couldn't actually make the launch, only to find out that it was a perfectly clear day and Astronomy Live got some amazing footage. And it was the type of footage that I was after, which was uncut footage from launch to MECO to separation to boost back to entry burn to landing burn to actual landing. He got the entire thing and it was fucking amazing. And I was pissed at myself for missing out. And I was really depressed at that moment in time because had they delayed it one more day, I could have actually gone and seen it. And it would have been a clear day then as well. And, you know, it just really fucking sucked to have missed it. Then I get there for this particular launch. I'm happy. We're going to see a launch. It's going to be amazing. And I took off of work, and I really shouldn't have. And I had to work the next day. So what ended up happening was that they scrubbed the launch for this one. And I was not the happiest person. I was pissed as fuck because I had to work the next day and nobody else wanted to help. Absolutely nobody wanted to take my shift at work. So I was obligated to show up. Otherwise, I could get in some pretty serious trouble if I didn't show up. However, through the help of a few of my friends, i.e. a few Benjamins and Jacksons, I was able to convince somebody to take my shift for me, and I was able to make it for this launch. And the rocket gods smiled upon me. It was a clear day, and I had my Nikon P1000, which all of you guys helped me get, and it was pointed at a Falcon Heavy Block 5. And it was beautiful. And after all was said and done, I got it. I got launch to MECO to separation to boost back to entry burn to landing burn and landing in one continuous shot with the Nikon P1000. I finally got the money shot after waiting literally years to get this shot. It was fucking amazing. On the way back home, if you guys ever find some way to hack into my dash cam, which don't even bother asking for this footage because I'm not going to give it to you. On the way back home, I was laughing and giggling like a fucking schoolgirl. It was like, wow, did this actually happen? Did I actually get the shot? Because I almost didn't believe it myself. It was awesome. It was awesome. It was absolutely amazing. And of course, what makes it better is that Astronomy Live was right next to me, filming with his telescope, and it was just amazing. So, guys, before we talk about anything, I just want to say thanks for helping me get that camera in the first place. Thanks for sticking with me until I got that shot. Thanks for tuning into View, because as I am talking to you right now, that video, or my video of the Falcon Heavy launch, is closing in on 160,000 views. I could not be happier right now. I really could not be happier right now. It is fucking amazing. So, guys, from the heart, from my cold, dead, shriveled up Floridian heart, thank you so much for getting me this far. I really can't thank you guys enough. Just like, seriously, thank you guys for helping me get the shot that I always wanted to get. It was amazing. And Astronomy Live, do you have something to say?
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't have asked for better weather on that launch. It was fantastic. And yeah, we both got continuous footage of the whole flight of Falcon Heavy Flight 2, first Block 5 Falcon Heavy, first commercial flight of Falcon Heavy. So, number of significant firsts there. And this time I was using the newest version of my UFO tracker software, which is the software I'm developing for rocket tracking. And it now comes with a logging feature that allows me to log the position of the target that it's tracking and the position of the telescope throughout the course of the video. So that's exactly what I did. The graph you're seeing right now is actually the graph of the telescope's position over time as it tracked the rocket. And you can see how it traces out the trajectory of the rocket. So we have the...
Hang on. Before you continue, sorry to interrupt you. I just want to make sure people understand what the hell is going on. Yes, your eyes are not deceiving you. We tracked the rocket in such a way that we now know its altitude and its path in the sky. You're not going crazy, guys. We actually got this data. We actually did. So not only did we get amazing shots, we also got amazing data.
Yep. I've got all of this saved in a spreadsheet, and we can analyze it to our heart's content. So this is really one of the beautiful things about getting a continuous shot like this, where you capture the entire launch, is you can then look at the entire launch and basically graph it all out. This is similar. You'll notice this is very similar to some of the long exposure photographs you see taken at night from people like John Krause and other professional photographers who will do a long exposure streak shot where you'll see the whole path of the rocket. And in the case of LZ-1 landings, you'll see the boost back burn, which usually occurs around this point, and then the entry burn, which occurs somewhere up here, and then finally the landing burn, which occurs down here. So this is launch. This is separation and boost back. Entry usually occurs around here, and then landing is down here. So this is exactly analogous to what you see in those streak shots, but here it's not just a photograph. This is actual data of the azimuth and altitude of the rocket at all points in its trajectory. And since we know where we are, we know how far we are from the rocket at launch and at landing, we can actually figure out roughly how far away the rocket is based on its angular size throughout the flight. And so I did some number crunching today on a frame taken from the boost back burn using the data from the telescope to figure out how far away and how high it was. So the booster, well, actually what I used for calibrating the image was the lightning mast on top of the launch tower. We know that's a 24.4 meter lightning mast. And so that worked out to 128 pixels in my 1080p image. Yes, I do lust after Red's Rhetoric's 4K camera, and I do hope to get my own.
4K.
Yes, that's the other beautiful thing. Red, I don't know if you mentioned that earlier or not, but his footage is 4K. My poor lowly 1080p footage can't compete. But I'm hoping to upgrade that piece of equipment later.
Amateurs.
Yeah. Well, the beautiful thing about amateur telescopes like mine, the camera isn't permanent. You can always switch out the camera for a better one later on. So yeah, hoping to do that later on. But yeah, so I calibrated the image scale based on the lightning mast of the launch tower, and it was 120 pixels away, or 120 pixels in size. We knew how far away we were. It basically worked out to an image scale of 1.7 arc seconds per pixel. Okay, and so and also the fun thing about this right here, it doesn't show in the graph here, but it also logs the exact moment in time every single measurement was taken. So I can tell you that at 18:39:01.9 seconds local time during the boost back burn, the booster was 15.3 pixels long in the image, and that corresponds to an angular size of about 26.3 arc seconds. Or about 0.007 degrees. So yeah, during the boost back burn, it's very tiny. Both Red and I are zooming in on it a lot to show you that detail, to show you the boost back burn, where you can actually see not just a point, but you can actually see the length of the rocket as it's starting to fly back towards the Cape.
That is a astronomical pain in the ass, by the way. Also, Future Martian 97 for $5. Congratulations on such an amazing shot, Red. The video is incredible. You should shove this footage in Russian Vid's face. Oh, don't worry. It will be done. But I also want to make sure people understand that Astronomy Live's footage is amazing as well. And not only is it amazing, he got data off of it. Now, while he may not have 4K, he has fucking data. That is pretty badass, if I do say so myself. I mean, just look at this. It's actual fucking data. This is the type of shit that flat earthers have been asking for. I want to know everything about this launch. I want to know everything about it. Well, now you do. There you go. and this is data that is not from NASA. This is data that is not from SpaceX. This is data that we found for ourselves. And just so that we're clear on something, I'm going to plug something for everyone else here. We're going to upgrade one other piece of equipment because there is one complaint that myself and Astronomy Live got. So here's the complaint. The complaint is that there is that beeping from the telescope, and since we film literally right next to each other, the beeping is on my footage as it is on his. And that beeping is from the telescope doing its badass tracking. There's no way to get rid of that. So what we're going to do is we are going to invest in an external portable microphone, and we are going to set that very far away from us so that it can capture nothing but the sweet, sweet sounds of the rocket. And so I have already invested in that. It shall be done. For those of you who want to know, it was about 120 bucks, somewhere around there, saves to an SD card. So all super chats from this stream are going to go to that because good audio. So that is going to be the next bit of audio that we have, and myself and Astronomy Live are going to be answering your guys' questions. If you want a super chat, we'll do super chats first, and then we'll go and answer non-super chat questions out there too. But with all that being said, Astronomy Live, what are you showing right now? Because right here, oh yeah, I actually think I've seen this before. Go ahead and explain it for us if you can.
Okay, so this is a different graph. It's the same data from the same launch, but graphed a slightly different way. So we have two lines here. One shows the azimuth over time. The other shows the altitude over time. So graphing it this way allows you to see the time markers at the bottom so that you can see that we have actually logged the time that every point of data was taken. And you can see the point actually where I took over manual control. So as the rocket gets higher and higher, as we approach MECO, it's going to get harder and harder for that tracking camera to do its thing, because what it's doing is basically a wide angle security camera that is tracking based on the rocket's flame. Once that flame goes away, there's nothing left to track on. So I have to take over manual control. You can see where I did that here because I flubbed it a bit. I hit the joystick a little too hard when I took over manual control. And so it actually made a visible little jolt in the tracking right there. But after that, I resumed smooth control throughout the rest of the flight. So basically what we're seeing, like I said, is the altitude over the horizon. That's the blue line. And the azimuth, the angle along the horizon from north to south to back to north, 0 to 360 degrees of the rocket over time as well. So basically,
Astronomy Life, hold that thought. Heat Shield at Red Frederick. I have one question for both of you, rather a request. Pete, please consider a parabolic mic. Yeah, we could definitely do that. Also, there was something in the chat about this, and it's like, if you are collecting data, with non-NASA data like this being collected by ordinary folks, it really seems like flat earthers are losing credibility. Gee, I wonder why. I just had to point that out. Sorry, continue.
Well, and it's interesting to me that a certain flat earther promised he was going to be there, or at the very least send someone in his stead. And as I recall, that didn't happen.
No, it didn't happen. It didn't happen at all. Surprising to absolutely nobody, it didn't actually happen. Who would have thunk it, right?
Yeah, it's almost like they don't want their beliefs challenged by being faced with reality they can't deny.
Yeah.
So, looking at the data, I measured the altitude of the rocket over the horizon as being 31.93 degrees at right around this point in the launch. This was during the boost back burn as it starts to gain altitude again. So initially the altitude's going down because it's going over the horizon. It's going over the curvature of the Earth. But during the boost back burn, they start reversing course and coming back to the Cape to land. To do that, they have to kick on the engines in an area where there's basically no ambient pressure. And so I was able to actually measure how far away it was and how high it was using this data. So we now know it was 31.93 degrees over the horizon during this point in the boost back burn. And at that point, the rocket's apparent size was 0.0073 degrees. Now, you do some fancy math with that and figure out, and this is, by the way, accounting for the fact that the rocket, it's basically boosting back horizontal, parallel to the ground below it, in order to reverse that velocity vector. And so because I'm not directly below it, I'm not looking straight up at it. So there's some foreshortening there. But even accounting for that, it ends up being that this means that the rocket is actually still quite far from us. In fact, it's 176.8 kilometers slant range from us at that point. So if you take 42.6, which is the length of the booster in meters, times the sine of 148.07, which is 180 degrees minus 31.93, divide by the sine of 0.007315 degrees, that's the angular size of the booster at that point, it equals 176,799. That's 176,799 meters slant range. If you then do the math on the altitude, I get an altitude of 93.43. That's the sine of 31.9 degrees times 176.798 kilometers, 93.43 kilometers, even assuming the Earth is flat with no curvature whatsoever. So
yeah, which by the way, we know it isn't flat. Just pointing that out there.
Just pointing that out. Yeah, exactly. But what this establishes is that this rocket is way above the vast majority of the atmosphere. It is effectively in a vacuum. In fact, it's in a better vacuum than you could make in a laboratory. Certainly a better vacuum than I could make in my laboratory that I work in. And even despite that, it had no problem reversing course. You can see it right here in the data. It went from starting to go over the horizon to suddenly, oh, I'm coming back up. If we go back to the other window, just take a look at the overall trajectory. I'll show you that same bend. And it's very clear the rocket is working just fine despite being in a vacuum. So here it is. It basically stops and reverses course, comes back all the way up to this altitude over the horizon as it's getting closer and closer to us. And then it descends down very rapidly for a landing. And we can see that in both of our videos. So yeah, it had no trouble working in the vacuum of space.
Yep. I was looking at the live chat because there was something here about asking about your graph because they said it didn't make sense, and it was asking if it does take into account the curvature of the Earth. So just to kind of illustrate that, you said that this graph does not take into account the curvature of the Earth.
Well,
Correct?
my calculations don't. So there's two different kinds of altitude, and I guess I should make this distinction better, more clear. There's altitude over the horizon. That's what this graph is showing. And then there's physical altitude over the ground. That's what I calculated. I calculated that without taking into account Earth's curvature, just assuming a flat Earth. This right here is just empirical data. It doesn't care whether the Earth is flat, round, or some other shape. It's just the coordinates of the rocket throughout the entire trajectory as recorded by the telescope. And so the coordinate system is known as altitude azimuth, or some people call horizontal coordinates, coordinates relative to the local horizon. So you have, like you have on a compass, 0 to 360 degrees from north and all the way around the compass. That's your azimuth. And then you have altitude, 0 to 90 degrees. Basically, 0 degrees is the horizon, 90 degrees is the zenith, straight overhead. So that's your coordinate system. In this case, the graph is made here in Excel, and it automatically scales to the data itself, so it doesn't show above 50, but theoretically, the coordinates could go as high as 90. They didn't in this case because the rocket didn't go that high from our point of view.
Yes.
This simply shows where the rocket went from our point of view. In order to determine the range, the distance, I actually measured the angular size and the change in the angular size of the rocket in the video.
Perfect. And also another one from I don't know how to pronounce this, so I'm just going to try and then fail at it miserably. Garnk, Garrrnk, however you pronounce that. I used to be a flat earther, and because of Atred's rhetoric, I have seen that many flat earthers are idiots. Thank you for bringing me back to the truth. Aw. Flat Earth was a government social experiment to see how many tards would believe it for $5. That was great. That was absolutely great. So with that being said, I do want to ask one question to you. What is next on the horizon for rocket launches? From this experience, is there anything that you and I can improve on? I already mentioned the audio thing for me, but anything that you think that you're going to improve on the next go around?
Sure. So, like, one thing that I learned from this launch that I really would like to change or add on to the program is a smoother transition from automatic to manual tracking. It's a little bit clumsy to try to take over the joystick mid-flight, and I knew that was going to be a challenge for me, even on the first Falcon Heavy. The first Falcon Heavy, that was actually filmed entirely with just joystick control through the program. Even though the program is theoretically capable of auto-tracking the initial boost phase, I didn't want that clumsy transition to take place where I'm trying to figure out how much I need to move the stick to keep it in view. And I didn't want to lose it at any point in that video. So I was deliberately going for the money shot that you got on this one. And
oh, yes, the money shot.
The money shot. And I didn't want to take any risk that I ever lost the booster in the field of view. So I didn't go for auto tracking that time. This time, because I already had that shot in hand, I wanted to see how well auto tracking would do. And it did a fantastic job. But when I had to transition, there was that challenge of trying to figure out how much do I need to move the joystick, because without having hands-on in the prior moments, I don't know how much the telescope is actually moving. I mean, I see the numbers, but what does that mean in terms of joystick deflection? The way the program works with joystick tracking, not only do you control how much the telescope's moving by deflect the motion of the joystick and how much you're pushing down the joystick, but also by the throttle. So you can control the gain or the sensitivity by throttling up and throttling down and holding the joystick steady. That changes the whole range at which the joystick will affect a motion. So if you have the throttle very low, you can make very fine adjustments, very fine motions, even with quite dramatic movements of the joystick. So that makes it very complicated then to then reassume manual control when automatic control was already tracking this moving object, and you want to pick right back up where it left off. So one thing I think I'm going to add as a feature is I'm going to try to figure out a way to add a secondary window that displays the current, it basically displays the automatic tracking as a function of joystick deflection. So it shows you where you would have to put the joystick based on the current throttle setting in order to achieve the very same command rates that are coming in based on the automatic tracking.
And that you're already way over the heads of many flat earthers here.
Okay, so let me draw this out, kind of like.
No. As in, there's no possible thing that you can do to get them to understand it.
Okay,
that's basically what I'm saying.
Basically, the dumbed down version is it makes it possible for you to set the joystick in the position you're going to need it in order to resume or take over manual control without changing the drive rates.
There you go.
The alternative option would be to, and most people would sort of jump to this solution. They would say, well, why don't you just set it so that when you take over manual control, it just keeps tracking at the last known rate, and that's like the default for centered joystick. And that sounds like a good idea at first, until you consider that we are trying to track something that is eventually going to be coming to a complete stop. And so your natural hand and muscle memory on that is going to be, well, I should center the joystick to come to a complete stop. And that's no longer going to be true. And so then you still are left with the conundrum of what are you going to do in order to smoothly go to that position when it comes time to come to a complete stop. So it really just sort of, it sort of kicks the can down the road. It doesn't really solve the baseline problem of, I need to know where the joystick needs to be in order to resume manual control properly. So that's what I'm going to try to solve on the next launch. I guess it's complicated to explain, but it'll hopefully make visual sense once I've actually got it implemented into the program and people can start to use it.
Well, that works. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do a bit of share screens. Okay, so here we go. This is called share screens. We're now sharing screens. So this is the raw unedited footage. I am going to just fuck that over to negative infinity because I don't need audio blasting my eardrums out, especially when you're using Bose headphones. RIP eardrums. Anyway, so here you can actually see the boosters. Now, I'm going to just skim through this in slow motion, but I want people to understand a few things. I did get some questions in the comment section of my video, and I assume, Astronomy Live, that you got these same exact questions. So we're going to go ahead and answer them right here, right now. The questions that we got about our footage, as well as the footage that was on the original SpaceX stream, was these jets that are coming out. So I fast forwarded to this spot. Wow, $50, Aussie Globehead, thank you. Pump up the volume. Oh, dude, when we get that mic in, oh my god, the sound is just going to be so sexy, so sexy. Anywho, so Astronomy Live, I'm going to ask this question to you. You see the gases coming out of the bottom portion right here?
Mm-hmm.
Now, those gases were not only shown on the SpaceX feed, but was also shown on your footage and also on my footage. Can you please explain what these little jets, these little spurts of, they called it cloud. What's that cloud spraying out of the rocket? Can you please explain that to the people who never had the benefit of learning about SpaceX rockets?
So those are cold gas thrusters. They provide attitude control while the boosters are in space and before they light their engines. So once they light their engines and they get all three engines up and running, they have control authority based on tilting and swiveling those engines around, called gimbaling. But when those engines are not running, the only way they have to change their attitude, their pointing direction, is to fire thrusters. So they use cold gas thrusters instead of hydrazine thrusters like, say, the space shuttle used to use. The space shuttle and even the X-37 and other vehicles like it normally use hypergolic monopropellants or things like these that provide really high thrust explosion, controlled miniature explosions to produce gas that pushes the vehicle around in space. In the case of the SpaceX boosters, though, there are a couple of considerations that go into the design here. One is that they want these things to be rapidly reusable, potentially even reusable within 24 hours in the future, which is just mind blowing. And also, you know, obviously that comes hand in hand with that, easy to handle, easy to move around. When you're using hypergolic propellants, those things are very toxic and dangerous and even deadly to humans. So
Yes,
not so
very
good.
deadly.
Not
Not
so
not
good. Yeah,
yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
not very good at all, actually.
Yeah, not good for your health. So when you want to be rapidly reusing your vehicle, it's best not to have to suit your guys up in spacesuits to walk out to the vehicle to handle it and be able to, you know, crane it up and fork it over onto a horizontal position and then transport. It would just make things a lot harder. Also, it's also generally more corrosive. Those things are not necessarily good in the long term for your fuel tanks. So on the whole, it's not the greatest solution. So they go with cold gas thrusters. They don't produce as much thrust, but they're much more reusable and much better to use on reusable rockets like these. So that's why they use those. So that controls the attitude while they're in space. And you can see the gas is very rapidly expanding away from the vehicle and forming those clouds as they do the little puffs. And you'll notice that doesn't generally happen while the engines are running. You can see right there where you've got the frame set now, there's that nice orange dot at the bottom of each booster. That indicates the engines are running. So they have control authority by swiveling the engines. They don't need to use up their cold gas thrusters
Well,
on that.
actually, with the power of this video editor, I can do something really weird. Do you want to see it?
Sure.
Up, 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 and boom.
Nice.
Yep, zooming in, bitches. Okay, so anyway, so this is set to 1080p, and the reason why it's set to 1080p is because I'm not going to kill my computer. So anyway, yeah, that shows that the engine is actually running. So there you go, right there. And now I'm going to switch this back to default. Boom, there we go. Okay, now I'm going to ask you a question, and this is going to be a springboard for me to answer a question that I received. Okay.
Okay.
Now you developed tracking software for your telescope, right?
Right.
Okay, good. Now here's my question: as someone who has tracked these rockets using software, how big of a pain in the dick is it to track these things by hand, especially when you're looking through a screen that's, I think, less than 2 inches wide?
Well, it's extremely difficult. And, you know, I'll say it again, these rockets at this point are measured on not tenths of degrees or hundreds of degrees, but by thousandths of degree. They're only a few thousandths of a degree in length in these images. And so that gives you some idea of the sense of scale. And you think about that, any motion you make of the tripod or the camera while you're tracking this, even if it's a tiny, tiny motion that only shifts it by a few thousandths of a degree, that's enough to shift the rocket in its position in the image by an entire length or more. And so every tiny little vibration, every tiny little motion will produce a large effect at this magnification. That's why I do it with software. I don't have steady hands that would be needed to do it the way that you do it, which is, you know, amazing.
I
I have
swear,
to.
my hands are so steady right now, I could become a fucking brain surgeon. Now here's the reason why I asked that question. One comment, or I should say a few comments that I got on the video asked, why didn't I track both rockets? Why did I lock on to just one of them and track just that one all the way down to landing? Well, here's the thing. At this current moment in time, this image right here is really not what I'm seeing. What I'm actually seeing is something like that. That's what I'm seeing. This is my screen on the P1000. That's what I'm looking at. These things occupy quite literally a single pixel on the viewfinder. That's basically what I'm looking at. And it is so easy to lose these things. You're talking about a white pixel on a light blue background. It's really fucking hard to track. I just want to make that very clear. It is hard to track. And if you lose focus, even for a moment, you are going to lose it. And good luck finding it again. it's difficult. So in order to make sure that you don't lose focus at all, I locked on to one of these little pixels and I just focused on it. I'm like, whatever happens, I am not losing track of that one pixel, because that one pixel is eventually going to turn into that and that and that. That's what that one pixel is eventually going to turn into. So they're like, well, why didn't you track both of them? I go, if you think this is so fucking easy, then you try it yourself, especially at this zoom level. So the reason why I tracked just one of them is because I needed to focus on one thing. I just had to focus on one pixel. I can't dart, look for the other pixel in the screen to make sure it's still in view. I can't do that. Otherwise, I'm going to lose it. I'm going to fucking lose it. So to make sure that I didn't lose it, I focused on one pixel and I stuck with it. So that's why I focused on just one and not both. But that's why I also had the static camera so that I could get both landing. Okay, we have confirmation of one, and we have, yeah, that's, you know, that kind of thing. With the static cam, focus on one, the static cam will cover the rest. And if anything else fails, I have Astronomy Live right next to me just in case. So that is why I focused on one and not both.
Yeah, and I want to say for my video, I did set the telescope basically to its minimum magnification. And so what you see, I couldn't have zoomed out any more than I already did, pretty much. And there's no way to adjust the zoom in midstream. Unlike the P1000, there is no zoom function for an LX200 telescope. It's a fixed focal length. So the only way to change the magnification is to physically unscrew the camera, unscrew other things from the telescope, and rearrange the parts. Obviously not something you can do in the middle of a video.
Yeah.
So it's you got to pick one magnification and stick with it. So I picked a minimum magnification in order to keep the boosters in there for as long as possible. And I did notice this time was different than the first Falcon Heavy. The first Falcon Heavy, the boosters were noticeably closer together, even though we were a little closer to the launch on that one. They actually closed off the area that we used to film from, and we had to go to a new area this time. But even though I was a little bit closer that time, the boosters were still in angular separation a little closer together. And so I was able to keep them together throughout the entry burn, as you can see in my first Falcon Heavy video. That was not even possible this time. I bounced, in fact, I deliberately bounced back and forth between the two boosters a little bit during entry burn, just because it's kind of interesting and it's easy to get on one and then the other. But I couldn't fit them both in the same field of view, even though I was at the minimum of the telescope magnification. So that might be due to range to target differences, or that might be due to actual physical separation being given greater to these being set to have a greater separation between these rockets. I do know that SpaceX plans to reuse both of these boosters on the next Falcon Heavy flight, and so they could have been doing that deliberately to be a little more cautious to make sure that those boosters came back intact, and indeed they did. But yeah, there was no option for me to keep both boosters in there the whole time, for sure. Now, in the future, another upgrade I'd like to make, if I ever get the money for it, would be to have a small wide-angle, wide-field telescope that still provides a higher magnification view than what you can see by eye. So hopefully you could see those boosters throughout flight, but wider so that you could get both of them in there the whole time. That's a very delicate balance to have, but it's something I'd like to experiment with in the future. But for now, this is the best I could do with my equipment, for sure.
Well, it's kind of like, you know, we've accomplished something amazing, and there's some people that are still not satisfied with it. And I go, dude, you can't please everybody at this point. The thing that I just want to get across is that when these rockets separate from the center booster, and they're still gaining altitude during boost back, they become pixels on the screen. And if you try to find the other pixel in the screen, which is the second booster, you're going to miss the one that you were originally following, because now it's not where you left it. That dot is constantly bouncing all around the screen. And if it bounces off frame, you're fucked. it's almost impossible to try and find it again. So you have to work extra hard to keep that dot in frame, because that dot will eventually be your money shot. So I picked one and I stuck with it because I wasn't going to risk it. And it worked out, because now I have shots like what you see on your screen right now. This is pretty fucking amazing. I do have to say so myself. This is actually,
that is gorgeous.
That is
absolutely gorgeous.
That is pretty amazing, with the grid fins out steering this thing back home. That is amazing right there. So when it comes to our shots, I'm sorry, but I would love for you guys to try and repeat what I did by hand.
Yeah, keep in mind, in my case, I have the benefit of having a giant monitor in my face that helps me see those small those small rockets during the flight. And I also have a joystick. I'm not trying to do this by hand, so I can better control just exactly how much I'm going up and over to try to get the other one, and then come back to where I was and catch up to the other one. I've got I guess probably a better chance of being able to do that. But Red doesn't have that benefit. He's looking at the monitor on his camera, and that's it. That's what he's got to work with. So he can't, go chasing the other booster. And, certainly it's going to be a benefit for his sake to have it as highly magnified as possible, so that it occupies as many pixels as possible while he's trying to track it. Because these things, once the boost back burn shuts down, there is absolutely no way to see them by eye in the sky. They're too faint. They're too small. The only way you can see them is with optical aid, and that's what both of us have here. And so, although high magnification, has the disadvantage of you have to be very, very steady and gentle with it, it has the advantage of allowing the booster to occupy more pixels and make it easier to see on the camera monitor. Have I got that right?
Yep, correct. I will invest in a monitor, the small types that you can click into the top of the P1000. I will invest in one of those. I think what's more important at this time is audio quality. I proved that I can use the small screen to my advantage, but hopefully I get that monitor in before the next Falcon Heavy launch, because it'll be a lot easier to track with that. And also of course, the audio thing would be the next thing on the list, so that we can get some very clean audio. The amazing thing about these rocket launches, and the most amazing thing about our footage, is a thing that's actually kind of pissing both of us off. And this is where we're going to go to you guys for a bit of an ear, maybe some help, maybe a little bit of a rant. And Astronomy Live, I think you know exactly where I'm going with this.
Sorry, I was just checking super chat. Did you read off Scott DeLion's super chat? He was like the first one way early in the show.
Go ahead, read it off.
Okay, first super. And would you suggest a P900 for first camera? Want to record and capture freighters on Lake Superior?
Yes, I would. Just get it. Don't even ask. Just get it. Get it. In fact, I ask you this: why haven't you not gotten it yet? Just go do it, like right now. And yeah, let's see. So here's the rent thing that I want to or the rant thing I want to go over. So I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, especially someone who I respect. And I do respect this person quite a lot. I really do. But there's some things that I just need to call out. Tim Dodd, the everyday astronaut. So here's the problem here. This guy gets passes to go see this launch right on the right inside the area that we only wish we had access to, which was right by the VAB. Am I correct in saying that?
I'm not sure if that was his location this time. It seemed like it might have been the Causeway, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, but he was on the NASA base, right?
Right. He's behind the security gates.
Yeah,
normal people can't get there.
He's behind the security gates. He obviously has access. He has access, and that gives him, more exploited views than, we could ever hope to get, you know, getting access to, which is that doesn't require security clearance. I mean, there's no other way to say it. So when he got access to that, he had everything set up. He was ready to go. He obviously had the opportunity to do research beforehand to make sure that his shot would be, uninterrupted, unobstructed, that kind of thing. But the thing is that he fucked up. Now, I'm not trying to shit on the guy. I really am not. I'm not trying to shit on the guy. The reason why I bring this up is because we have been doing this, myself and Astronomy Live, we have been doing this for quite a number of years. And I would say that we have, both myself and Astronomy Live have, the most badass amateur videos of rocket launches that you're probably ever going to see. I think we both have earned the right, or maybe the privilege, of getting access to sites that are behind the security gates. We deserve to have that type of access. We deserve to have, I don't know, press passes, if there is such a thing, to go behind the gates whenever these rocket launch are going to start flying, so that we can film it with our equipment without being fucking hassled with a $200 ticket for both of us each, $200 each. So with that being said, this is where I ask you guys in the chat for a bit of advice. People who are in a position of power at NASA, who have the ability to get us into NASA so that we can film these things from a lot closer, they need to see what we captured. They need to see what we are capable of. And they need to know that you can keep inviting these other social influencers. That's fine. But if they don't provide the type of quality content that we provide, maybe you should think about replacing them. Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut, is an amazing individual. I like what he does. I'm subscribed to him, and I'm going to stay subscribed to him. But the way he kind of fucked up the Falcon launch and landing video, especially given the fact you didn't even see the landing because a person got in the way, yeah, that's not a thing that happens with our videos. That's not a thing that occurs. That's not a mistake that is ever made. We make sure of that. In fact, when we went on to the Field of Heat thing for the demo Flight 1, what was the thing they kept saying over the loudspeaker, Astronomy Live, about when it happens, you're supposed to do this one thing?
Sit down, you mean?
Yeah, sit down. And I was like, I look back at it and I go, this motherfucker, you want me? No way.
We were also deliberately off in the darkest, farthest corner of that event that you could find, where there was hardly anybody there and there was nobody behind us, so it didn't matter.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not, no, absolutely not. I need to stand up so I can track this fucking thing with the Nikon. I'm not going to sit down. So basically, it comes down to this. We have earned our place behind the security gates at NASA. I need to know who I talk to. I need to know who to talk to. I need to know who to contact. I need to know who I send my footage to so that they know that we are serious when it comes to filming these things and getting it out there to the masses. I want to make sure that we have the best locations for our filming opportunities. I want to make sure. Now, keep this in mind. I am not saying at all that we should replace Tim. I'm not saying. All I'm saying is that if he can get press passes or whatever they're called, we should be able to get them too. And I want to know how the fuck he did it, because if they want people who can get the shot, who can get the message out there, I think we've proven ourselves. Isn't that what say you about this whole thing?
So, yeah, NASA has a system, and I'm sure SpaceX does too, for authorizing media people to come on to the base and film the launch, media people with media credentials. And unfortunately, it's not a meritocracy. It's not like they look at your portfolio and say, "Oh yeah, your videos, your photos are good enough. Come on in." They simply only care, apparently, whether you have, you know, a media affiliation or not. You know, are you working for Spaceflight Now? Are you working for NASA Spaceflight? Are you working for CNN, for NBC, for, you know, any media organization? And if the answer is no, they turn you away. Now, people who have NASA badges can come onto base, and my understanding is that, and I could be wrong about this, but I think they can get they can escort a visitor onto base as well, even during a launch, but they have to be escorted by somebody with a NASA badge. So that's why you can have things like NASA socials, where they invite people with social media accounts to come onto base. Those people have to be escorted by NASA personnel at all times, but they do get the same kind of access that media get. That is, they get to go behind the gates, see launches up close, see the facilities up close and the hardware. I've been able to do that on a couple of occasions, and it's really incredible. But it's not something that you can always do. In fact, they actually actively discourage people from repeatedly applying for NASA socials. They judge NASA social people somewhat on their merits, or at least based on how big their audience is, which is usually a good proxy for how good the quality of their content is, but not always. But yeah, they judge it based on size of the audience, the number of connections those people can make, whether they're basically influencers at some level or not. And so it's really special to be able to get onto that. I've applied, I think 3 times, and I got it 2 times out of 3. I don't always get it. My channel's not always big enough. It depends on who applies that time. So again, it's not a surefire thing. And if it's a major launch, like a Falcon Heavy or a manned launch or something like that, odds are I'm not going to be able to get in. My channel's not big enough. Honestly, even Steve's, even Red's channel, if it were, you know, meeting all their guidelines, he probably wouldn't be able to get in every time, because some of these channels are huge.
Exactly.
And they have very strict rules, by the way, on things like cursing and the, you know,
which means I'm fucked, essentially.
Yeah.
It means I'm fucked. It means I'm fucked. So I have to find other means of getting access. Because yeah, I kind of yeah. And also, I just want to point something out. While I don't want to make this a dick measuring contest, I really don't, because I'm not about that. I do need to call out bullshit when bullshit needs to be called out. So to the guy by the name of Doug, boo-hoo, Tim waxes folks like you off his balls. So boo-hoo, Tim waxes folks like you off his balls. Allow me to show you something real quick. This right here is his video on it. Now, yes, he does have a lot more views than me. You're definitely correct about that. As you can see, he's up to 290,000. But I don't want you to pay attention to this number. I want you to pay attention to this number right here. 4.5K likes, which, by the way, I'm going to go ahead and like myself. 4.5K likes. 653 downvotes. Now I'm going to go to my video. 8.2K likes. 164. So, yes, I will say that he does have me beat in some aspects, but not all of them. So while Tim Dodd has definitely, you know, earned his place, I'm not saying he hasn't. I'm just saying that, you know, we have earned our place as well. We have shown that we have the capability of making shit stick, because we know what we're doing when it comes to filming these things. We've been doing it for years. I'm not saying replace Tim. I'm saying that if that is the standard that we need to meet, we have met it. So who do we talk to from here?
Yeah, you know, the other thing that I guess I feel bad pointing it out, but I guess I should. Now might be a good time to mention how he got media credentials for this particular launch. Do you happen to know that story?
I do not, actually.
Okay. So Tim Dodd tweeted just a couple days before one of the first attempts. If it wasn't Sunday, it was one of the, I guess it was the Wednesday attempt. But just before the launch, he tweeted it out and said, "Silly me, I totally forgot to apply for media credentials, and I guess it's too late now because the deadline for that was months ago. Does anyone, even though this is a long shot, can anyone hook me up with media credentials?" Elon Musk himself replied to that tweet and said, "We'll take care of it." So he clearly has the attention of the very head of SpaceX, Elon Musk, and it was none other than Elon Musk who saw to it that Tim got into this launch. So, you know, it's pretty clear to me that whether or not he has, press credentials, and I'm assuming he does, he's got the ear and the eye of Elon Musk, who will get him into these events. So it would be nice, even if it weren't at that level, if someone would recognize what we're doing for SpaceX and for their launches here. I mean, let's face it, these videos, both of ours, drive publicity for SpaceX because it's providing a unique perspective of ground-to-ground footage that even most of their tracking cameras can't quite provide. Some of their tracking cameras probably do provide very, very similar functions and very similar footage. But I happen to know that some of the big telescopes that they use for tracking these launches have altitude limits, and become obscured or simply can't track them all the way down to the landing pad most of the time. So we're able to do that with our comparatively smaller equipment and provide this sort of unique perspective where we're not just blokes with cell phones, holding up vertical
we're
videos. And we're not.
Listen, we are basically the opposite of what Crow 777 deems as credible.
That is a great way to put it. But here's a detail you might be forgetting there, Astronomy Live. Red, how happy was SpaceX when you caught fairing RCS?
All right, look, what do they want me to do? Okay, what did they honestly want me to do? I was there to film. I filmed. I may have released some details about their rocket that they didn't necessarily want released. I mean, look, I point my camera at something and I film what it films. Okay, what does Elon want me to do? Okay, I said I'm sorry to Elon multiple times. Come on. He wasn't very happy with that footage. I mean, I did get his attention. It just was very bad attention.
Did he? I don't know. Did he actually reply to that or something? Or
no,
did he?
No. The thing is that it was he made mention that the cat is out of the bag when it comes to reusable fairing RCS, that they were testing it. He didn't want to release that information. And the only time that information was actually released was when my video went live.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah, people saw, wait a minute, that's fairing RCS. What the fuck? And then, yeah, that happened. So, yeah, I mean, listen, it's not like I did to kind of like, oh, fuck you, Elon. No, I worship the ground the dude spits on. I didn't do it to piss him off. I did to just document an awesome rocket launch.
And it's actually, I guess, poetic that I believe this will probably be the first launch where the fairings will actually go on to be reused. They fished them out of the ocean, and they say they're going to reuse them on a Starlink launch. So that's cool.
That is epic. And also, I just want to read a comment that I got from a user by name of L. Akande. It says, your booster landing footage is better than SpaceX footage. So amazing. And by the way, for those of you that think I'm making this shit up, I just want to show you. Here's the comment right here. Your booster landing footage is better than SpaceX footage. So amazing. So obviously, I'm not the only one that thinks that we have something that's worth a shit. I honestly think that this could be a huge benefit to people, and I just want to share. Now, here's the thing. To just kind of illustrate this one more time, that I have nothing against Everyday Astronaut. Again, I'm a subscriber. I like what he does. He's an amazing individual. It's an amazing channel. And all of you guys right now should go there right now and subscribe if you haven't already. I'm just saying that If he can get access, so should we. We should be additions. We should not be replacements. If anything, Tim, if you're watching this, bro, call me, man. Please call me. We can help you out. We're willing to help you out. That's another thing I'm offering. Because look, one guy can only do so much. Imagine, a trifecta, especially a trifecta that has proven that they know what the fuck they're doing when it comes to filming shit like this. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and I'm developing this software not just so that I can personally use it. Sure, it's a huge. I couldn't film videos like this if I had to do it the way Reds does it, and so it's a huge personal benefit to me. But I also want other people to be able to use it. It's not quite ready for public release yet. There's some stuff I got to polish up for that, but it's getting there. And the goal here is that other people and other groups will ultimately be able to use this. So I did reach out to Tim Dodd. I sent him an email earlier tonight. Just offering, saying, hey, understand you're looking, because he put out a poll actually on his community page there, asking people what they think he ought to do in the future. Should he, just skip going to live events altogether and just stay home and do what he usually does, which is, cover the stream with commentary, or should he, rely on SpaceX footage but continue to go to these events? What should he do? And so, I just reached out to him, and I don't know if he'll see it or respond, but said I'd be willing to help him and, help him implement my software for his purposes too, for, tracking these rocket launches and covering them, because it does make the process easy enough that someone who's a klutz like me can still do, end-to-end tracking the way Reds does it. So, it's quite useful stuff. And I'd be glad to help out with that, but don't know if I'll ever get a response. I kind of have reasons to doubt it. I don't know. I couldn't say why. I just know that, like when he Everyday Astronaut asked for people's footage of landings some time ago, and I sent him my first Falcon Heavy, which, was end-to-end coverage, including landings. Never got a response to that. So I don't know if, there's something I did that may have stepped on a toe or crossed the line somewhere along the way, but I try to keep things, PG rated on my channel, just like he does on his. So I'm not sure what the reason there could be, and I don't want to try to read the tea leaves, but just saying, I'm not expecting a response this time either. But if he did, I would be more than happy to help him out there, because this software is meant to be shared ultimately, and I want to make it as easy to use as possible for everybody, so that we get more footage like this, because we only benefit from more data, more footage. Just imagine if it weren't just the one graph I was showing now, but we had graphs of the trajectory from additional perspectives. We could very quickly do very precise calculations and triangulate the exact position of the rocket and the boosters over time. SpaceX, they do show telemetry on their feeds, but they usually only show the telemetry for the second stage after booster separation. They don't show you all the telemetry for the boosters while they're doing their flights. So it'd be really cool to get some additional data as just fans of SpaceX and fans of these rocket launches, if we got more perspectives on them.
And also just to kind of show, it was like, well, have you ever contacted any of them? Yeah, I did tweet at Elon Musk a few times, and I've also sent a few emails as well. But another thing that I did was here on the Twitters, where he was actually asking. So here's a tweet from last year. It was December of last year. If you have any original footage of SpaceX land, I'd love to feature it in an upcoming video. So please shoot me an email, including what missions from, blah, blah, blah. So this is the email. Now, I actually did email this email address. So I did. I sent him this. And I also responded with this directly. Contact me if you like. Got plenty. Here is a sample of my work. And of course, I show him a sample of my work with a big ass Reds rhetoric, watercolor on top of it, because, yeah.
Better safe than sorry.
Better safe than sorry. Exactly. So, I mean, I already attempted to reach out. In fact, 15 people like this shit, saying that it would be a good idea. So once again, we're not here to try and replace anyone. We're here to help out, because the more people we have covering this shit, the better, because it just means more flat earth butthurt. Because even though I won't be able to cuss on camera when I'm actually filming this stuff, because it needs to go on multiple channels, I'll be able to cuss after the fact. And that's what really matters.
Again, Red, I have an offer for a trade when it comes to footage. Just saying.
Go on.
Dash cam for dash cam.
You drive a hard bargain there, sir. Drive a really hard bargain.
Especially seeing as how I have one video that is an hour and a half of me going through mostly twisties, but it's over 30 gigs in one continuous video.
Yeah, of course.
In beautiful full HD 60 frames.
Yeah. Basically, so remember, the whole point of this thing is not to just bitch and moan and complain that we're not in a better location. The point of all this is to ask you guys for any suggestions, any help. If any of you guys in the live chat know somebody who knows the guy who knows the guy who knows the guy who knows a guy's third cousin, please get in contact with them on our behalf. Let them know that, listen, we're here. And if I need to go through a very invasive pat down, I mean, I'm bending over for you, man. Be like, if some guy looks at me and be like, I want you to give this scumbag a cavity search, don't stop until you reach the back of his teeth. Kind of like Beavis and Butthead Do America.
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, I'm like, Darcy blows, Captain.
Just don't go a full Beavis when you get turned down.
Oh God, it's one of these things where I'm like, okay, if anyone knows a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy, please let them know that you know some ugly fuck from Florida that would be thrilled to have access behind the security gates, preferably the causeway, because that would be absolutely amazing. So if I can get access to the causeway and allow myself and Astronomy Live to go there with our equipment without being fucking hassled and without the $400 price tag, that would be awesome, because I really don't like fundraising for shit like this, because I'm like, we're actually paying to debunk people. That is something. It's worth it. It's worth it, but it still sucks.
And even if you don't know somebody, but if you like Red's video and my video, feel free to retweet them and tweet them at SpaceX, Elon, whoever, to raise awareness and attention that, hey, there are these cool guys who are filming the whole launch to landing process any way they can get a little bit closer in the future.
Yeah. Also, the comment from the live chat. Not sure what I just walked into, but I'm keeping my back to the wall after hearing about the cavity search. I mean, they're not going to find anything and be like, okay, let's do this. All right. Xylophone, umbrella, horn, somebody's wife.
And we're not saying that Red would thoroughly enjoy the process, but
I mean, I can neither confirm nor deny. I'm just going to stop now.
Probably a good idea.
Probably a good idea. We're already past the point of no return. At this point, I'm just making it worse. So, so basically, if any of you guys knows a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy who knows some guy's cousin, get in contact with them and then contact me through the Twitters. It's linked to my phone, and I'll be able to see it immediately. Be like, Red, I found the guy who knows the guy who knows the guy. We can get you on, and I'll be like, oh, happy day, and then I'll call Astronomy Live, and then we'll both, jump for joy like little schoolgirls. Hypothetically speaking, if I were to call you on the mobile device and tell you that we got press passes, how would that make you feel?
Oh, I'd be ecstatic about that. And to answer Philip's question, it's not that we want to know why they aren't contacting us or why, everyday astronaut's not responding to us. To me, at least, it doesn't matter. I could speculate about it all day long, but it doesn't matter. That's not what the real issue is. The real issue is, what do we have to do to get that kind of access? If not, Elon will see to it that we get in, even if we don't apply until the night before. We're not even talking about that level, right? We're just talking about just basic access to get where the media goes behind the security gates, to get a little closer to these rocket launches and landings, because You know, I think we have something to provide here that most other outlets don't. Most of them, honestly, most mainstream outlets, CNN, NBC, the others, they don't even really hardly try. They just use the footage that SpaceX gives them. At least I will say for Everyday Astronaut and others like him, they do make the effort to collect their own footage and provide that. And usually you see that from some of the smaller outlets. But they, and this may be stepping too much into speculation, but they may see, you know, channels like ours as a competitor. And I totally understand that. And if that's the case, you know, I personally have no problem with it. I get it. You know, we're all competing for the same type of audience. So I get it if that's how they view it. Personally, like I said, I want to see more people collecting this kind of footage so that we have more data to work with, so that we have more angles, more perspectives of these amazing events available for people to see.
Yeah, and oh my God, I was just sent something, and it was a screenshot by a guy by the name of Jody Bell, or I'm sorry, a comment made by Jody Bell by one of the Twitter followers. And it said the following: "My God, that was the funniest launch I've ever seen. When the boosters disappeared into the back of that guy's head, I couldn't breathe from laughing. Will you be my wedding photographer?"
No.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, Sean, how's it going?
It's going. That was a big old clusterfuck.
So,
yeah, I thought.
So, do you wish you could drink yet?
No.
So going back to this, like I said, we're not here to replace anybody. We're not here to put anybody down. But objectively speaking, the footage that myself and Astronomy Live got, the footage that we got, objectively better. I'm sorry, it just is. It just is. Okay, and if you deny that, then you're fucking delusional. I'm sorry, but we're here to help. We're not here to put anybody down. If Tim can get access, we should be able to get access to. So if anyone knows people, get in contact with them. We will do our part. We'll do, background checks, or dare I say cavity searches. I mean, they're not going to find anything besides the xylophone and maybe some gerbils, but I mean, if they want it, I mean, here you go. So, I mean, Astronomy Live, would you be willing to have them check your anus?
Oh boy, I think I'm going to take the fifth on that one. Though I will say that during the last NASA social I went to,
all I'm saying is that's not a no. Okay, it's been noted for the record.
you know, all I'm saying is that there was a German Shepherd who was very thorough in sniffing my telescope and making sure it didn't have anything in it last time. Okay, so they will do very thorough searches.
So,
Yeah.
So question, when you do look at Uranus through your telescope, do you have to clean it afterwards?
Only if it's been circled by Klingons.
Okay.
and yeah, they were. Yeah, and by the way, I did see that dog. That dog was giving you the most judgy look. It's like I'm a dog, but I'm judging you. I'm judging you right now.
You said it was a German Shepherd?
Yes.
That's all the explanation you need for that.
It's like super judgy. It was super judgy. Like I wanted to take a picture, but I thought it would be rude, so I didn't. But if I did, you would have all laughed your asses off, because there's Astronomy Live and there's this judgy as fuck German Shepherd right next to him. Yeah. So anywho, but yeah, that's where we're at. And just so that we get everything up to date, let me hit the refresh button. So we are at 165,277 views, 8,200 thumbs up, 165 thumbs down, fucking haters, and a complete money shot. So tracking from launch to landing.
All right, so Red, we're at what, 165? You said? Okay,
165,000 views. Yes.
Okay, and where were we at 1245?
105,000 views.
Damn.
Yeah. We gained 60,000.
Yeah, I'm actually genuinely curious to see if you're able to surpass my original Falcon heavy video. The rate you're going, I suspect you will. I hit almost just shy of 400,000 on that one.
I mean, if it does, I promise not to gloat for more than 2 weeks.
So is this my 2 weeks notice?
Probably.
Got it.
I'm just saying. There's these things called bad losers. I'm what you call a bad winner. Aussie Glowpet for $50 again. God damn it, dude. Showbot wants to pump up the volume too. Thanks for the 50, man. I really appreciate it. And yes, I'm what you call a bad winner. I'm kind of the guy that like rubs it in your face. You know, that's yeah.
That's okay. At least it works out well because I'm a gracious loser. I will gladly concede that crown to you.
Yeah, it was actually. Do you remember the first thing I said to you when I captured the first ever landing of a Falcon 9 booster from our what we now call the original spot?
Yeah.
Do you remember what I said?
I don't remember the words exactly. No.
It started with the word "fuck" and then ended with "you."
Oh, yeah. That's a good refresher.
Wait. You mean you didn't also throw in there a "suck it, bitch"?
Oh my god! It was hey, Astronomy Live. Fuck you. Yeah, like I said, I'm a bad winner. Okay, I'm not a bad loser. I'm a bad winner. When I win, everyone knows.
That was a tough one to take. That was one of those where they had to. I think it was originally scheduled for a Sunday night launch, and then it got pushed to a Monday night, and I had to go to work, and I made the mistake of not taking that day off. Sorry, I get very sick. I think there's a rocket launch coming on.
Yeah. Oh, at Red Strike, you realize most of those views are because I shared your video to Nathan Thompson's 125K viewers on his Facebook research group, right? Astronomy Live, where else did my shit get shared?
This little place, you may have heard of it, called Reddit.
And can you elaborate on that, please?
So it got picked up on the SpaceX Lounge Reddit pretty prominently, very heavily liked on there. Also, I noticed it was getting very heavily liked on the main space Reddit on Reddit, which has like millions of followers. So
basically, what we're saying is that Nathan Thompson can lick my taint.
No, that is giving him too much of a good thing.
Yeah.
I think Peter makes an interesting point in the chat. The language in use makes it difficult, perhaps, for us to get access.
Which is why we wouldn't be doing it underneath my name.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
I mean, here's the thing: Red's rhetoric is, for the most part, just a character, except for the fact that I do genuinely get pissed off at the stupidity of flat earthers. So what you hear is real, but in reality, I'm actually a nice guy, So when it comes to keeping a professional tone for channels that don't allow cussing and want them to be more entertaining and educational and stuff like that, I think I have proven multiple
Astronomy Live.
Exactly. Exactly. I think I have proven multiple times that we are actually able to get that done. So yes, the language on my channel is as it is because it's my fucking channel. I'm not appealing to someone else's standard on my own fucking channel. So when it comes,
Kingstone just said something incredibly wrong on the internet.
Yeah,
I think Red has a good heart deep inside. You don't know Red.
Yeah, and I think the three of us on this panel with him probably know him the best. And if there is a way that he can fuck with you while pointing something out,
he'll do it.
It's not a question of if, it's a question of how often.
So I mean, like I said, I can be a nice guy. I can not cuss and do everything like that. But on my channel, I do what the fuck I want. So, yep. At risk, right? I will ask my niece. She has contact with astronaut every now and then. Oh, okay, cool. I appreciate it. Thank you. I'll also send a few emails because apparently Heat Shield may also have some contacts with people. So Heat Shield, thank you very much. I do appreciate it. Let's see where that goes. I'm also going to send another email to Everyday Astronaut because why not? I will also at Elon Musk because he seems to live on Twitter, which, by the way, I don't blame him.
I'm actually checking his Twitter right now.
There we go. So, by the way, guys, if you guys want to like all at Elon Musk for me and copy and paste the link to my launch video in that tweet, just kind of, I'm not saying you all should bombard his Twitter with my video. I'm just saying I wouldn't stop you. That's all I'm saying. I'm not going to stop at all.
Don't forget mine too. Mine too.
Oh well, yeah. His too. I don't know.
Wait a minute. I have a great idea to really maximize the effect rather than all of us doing it at once and potentially getting into some sort of spam filter. Let's break it up. If your birthday is in the first quarter of the year, do it right now. If your birthday is in the next quarter, the second quarter of the year, do it tomorrow. Third quarter, day after. Last quarter of the year, the day after that. That way we get days in a row of Elon being multiply tagged in posts about the videos.
I'm not saying you should flood Elon Musk, but
if you were to, this is how I suggest doing it.
Look, I'm not saying we go full balls to the wall on this and essentially nuke this problem from orbit. I'm just saying that if you wanted to, I wouldn't exactly be stopping you. Just pointing that out there. I wouldn't exactly be stopping you. Be like, oh wow, I did not condone this behavior. I just did nothing to stop it. What? Don't look at me. Why are you all looking at me weird? So, anywho, I'm gonna start to take this off here, but once again, guys, I do want to say for all of you who may have just joined because reasons, thank you all for helping me get the Nikon P1000. Thank you for sticking with me while I tried to get the money shot. I finally got the money shot. It was quite a pain to get, but I got it. It's amazing, and now it has 165,000 views and growing. So that's actually pretty amazing. And with 8.2K likes, I'm just like, wow, speechless. Thank you all so much, everyone. Just seriously, thank you. And Astronomy Live, anyone that you would like to thank for the for being awesome?
Oh yeah, I mean, thank my parents. They let me stay at their place before the launch. Thank you for being there and helping out. Want to thank all the people I met at the launch. There's some really cool people, fans of Tim Dodd, I might add. And I, for my part, I have nothing personally against Tim Dodd. And I hope he checks his email and sees the message I sent him and accepts my offer. It's very genuine. Because, like I said, I want to see more people getting great shots like this. So that we have more data to work with and more eye candy to enjoy as well. So just hope to see more of that in the future, and really looking forward to finishing up the first beta release version of my rocket tracking program.
And Sean Hufford, a question about you. As a viewer of this launch, I imagine, what did you think of the footage?
I had to get 3 boxes of Kleenex.
Does that wow.
Sean, the blue shop towels are much more effective.
Yeah, but it's just not like wipe and dispose of.
So Jared, as the guy who got this launch dedicated to him, what do you have to say about the launch footage?
Yeah, that's about it. Speechless was definitely the initial once I got to see the footage. And here's saying my initial view wasn't even in full HD. I got the pre-high def version of it only at 360, and still holy fucking shitballs. And then just to see the way it looked at the full HD capacity of my screen, yeah, Sean, I'm with you in number, but I can definitely see how the tissues look more impressive. But but the shop tells soak up a lot fucking more.
Oh God! This was the shot that I was waiting for, and it happened with a Falcon Heavy. So I could not be happier, and I could not be more thankful of the people who have helped me out.
Well, you increased your odds. You had 2 boosters to follow.
Oh man, but it was great. It was absolutely amazing. So guys, thank you very much. And I do have to say thank you. True Blue, $5. Thank you so much for that. Thank you also, by the way, to Aussie Globehead. You donate $100 tonight. So thank you so much. I do want to say just one more thing, then we're going to call it a night. Go ahead and do me a favor. If you haven't watched it, do it. If you haven't watched Astronomy Live's video, do it. And if you haven't subscribed to Astronomy Live, I don't know what's wrong with you, but you need to fix that. So yeah, subscribe to him, because that his footage, amazing, just amazing. And next upgrade, better audio.
So you're getting one of those like standalone handheld microphone thingies?
Yeah, independent audio recorder.
It's already been ordered.
Nice.
It's already been ordered. So it'll be on its way. It'll be here for the next rocket launch. And so it's going to be absolutely amazing, guys. So I'm going to take this off air. No, say what you got to say and get the fuck out tonight. Just anyone got any final says?
2 boosters, 1 launch.
You know what? We're just going to end it on that.